share the board. Well, okay. Well, and now, okay. Well, we have a listening section here, but since we study and practice business together, so I want to actually ask you a few questions. It's not related to this part of your book, but it's not bad to talk about it. Well, so you know that we have some tips, and like we have, for example, in business, no matter what you do, if you are a businessman or woman, or for example, employee, employer, entrepreneur, so you have an earned income. Then you can invest this earned income in something. Of course, you need passive income. I want to ask you about, so let me write here, we have earned income.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And passive income. Of course, we have interest income. Now I want to talk about this too. So passive income is like, you don't work anymore. And it's like your money brings money. So like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
tell me now, for example, to me at this level, I am at the level of earning income. So I earn income. In the future, maybe after retirement, I need to actually change. I need to make this earned income, change it to passive. Okay, if you want to give me some advice, for example, how to invest. So if you wanted to invest your earned income in something to make passive income in future, what would you do?
Yeah. Yeah, it has. So yeah, myself, I and I decide and to build the new passive income for my family and prepare
Yeah.
for the next time for me in retirement. Yeah,
Yeah, of course,
yeah,
of
and
course.
so I think we have some way to build passive income. For example, build a house or apartment for rent. The first thing, and so I'm doing that. I am invest some money to build a small house. That's I will for rent, and I hope that it will make me some passive income enough for my uh, yeah, for my family. For example,
Yeah,
for daily cost or a living cost, and yeah, the first thing is the living cost. So in the near future, I think I have to build a passive income enough for my tuition fee for my children. Yeah, that means after that
yeah,
I only work for to get money for travel and doing something. And the first, yeah, that means the first way, and very popular in Vietnam. So
yeah.
uh, so the build apartment for rent very popular, and a lot of people do that.
Ah, so of
Yeah,
course, so you invest in property, you invest in
yeah,
property, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
of course you can make, yeah, of course you can make like rental income
Yes, yes.
like this. Yeah, of course you buy, yeah.
Yeah,
And then of
yeah,
course for the future, it's a really good way, yeah.
yeah. Because I think the build property for rental, I think it very sustainable.
Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, another way you can invest in to hold the stock. That's a company
of course.
yeah they they pay profit
Yeah, of
every
course,
year
of course.
annually. Yeah, but
Yeah, of course.
it's a little bit challenge, and it's a little bit risky because you don't know and the future of that company, right? They may
Of
get
course.
profit and they may lose the money.
Of course, of course. So who knows? Bankruptcy that may happen. So in every field, every business, or maybe you have no
Yeah,
idea. So yeah, as you said, I
yeah,
do agree with you. So about property, we
and
can say if you, yeah, sorry.
and yeah, and you can giving saving money to the bank, and you can get interest money from the bank.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like,
But
yeah.
yeah, but in American, I know that interest is
Yeah,
not high. Yeah,
of course. Of course. I wanted to add this. Yeah, of course. That's not a good way in my country. But yes, if you want to have steady income and long term, yes, property is better. But when it comes to stock, yeah, of course, we have growth potential. So it's like, you can, yeah, it's risky, but of course, for short term is a better way. So um, actually, I want to ask another question. So we talked about, this passive income that is really important, of course, wherever you live. And I want to ask you another question about cash flow. Do you have any idea about this phrase?
yeah, but it's very important. We manage cash flow and we manage a performance. Performance is not exactly cash flow. It only shows the
Yeah,
performance of the
of
business. But
course.
cash flow,
Yeah.
we owe to already the money for the daily activity of organization. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's like, I definitely agree. Like, movement of money, just in out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what, yeah, of course, how much you earn, how much you make, how much you pay. So in every business, not only business for individuals, it is really important. You work, you have a salary, earned income, you need to manage how much you receive and how much you pay every month. Then if you manage it, if you have a positive, so you know that we have positive cash flow
Yeah.
and of course negative.
Yeah.
So negative cash flow. So it's like, if you see that you more money coming in than going out. So of course this is positive. If no more money going out than coming in, of
Yeah.
course this is negative. But this way we can say, okay, this is loss or profit. Now I
Yeah.
want to ask you for an advice, how to make, do you have any idea? Of course, you know that what's make a business. Okay, and what makes negative cash flow? There are different factors that affect and actually movement on your money. Like if
Yeah.
you make good money, but you don't consider actually different area that you need to pay for. So of course it will like negative cash flow. That can be actually we can change it to positive. Do you have any idea how we can turn negative cash flow to positive?
Yeah, in my experience, it's easy to become the negative cash flow when the company grow, because when your company grow, the first thing you think that we need a new cash to invest, to produce, and to make the marketing campaign and to hiring employee. So in that phase we don't, or we can get less revenue. That mean
Of
we
course.
have to it require a lot of money. So we can see that the net it will be negative cash flow. In
Yeah,
that it have you may loan from friend and loan from bank to
yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe get loan, of course, but of course when getting loan, especially from bank, you need to have enough information about interest rate. So that is really important. Maybe one reason that can make your positive change, turn your positive cash flow to negative is this. So for example, for your business, for your company, of course, you feel like that, oh, it's good. So why not? I will establish my own business. So let's get owned from bank. But so you don't consider the interest rate and you need to pay lot. So long term, it affects you, of course, your, for example, cash flow and turn it to negative since you don't have. Then you need to borrow from your, for example, friend, family. You need to sell something, for example, property to cover your expenses. But getting loan is a little risk, especially of course, I have no idea about interest rate in your country, but in some banks, so that depending on the type of the loan is different, sometimes low, sometimes really high, and you need to pay back a lot. Well, okay. Thank you. So we talked about this two topic, and now let's move on our book. So let's keep going. That was good. Okay, actually, I wanted to know your opinion about these two areas to see if we can talk about them or no. And you have good information. That is really good. In business, you are really good at business, I think. You can be really good businessman. So
it is very tough of me.
So it's very, I'm sorry.
I think cash flow is very big part or daily part of my job.
Yeah, of course. So not only so for everyone, is really individual or, for example, organization, companies, it's really important. Well, okay, just I think I didn't know there was something wrong with connection today, or it's like breaking up, or maybe there is lag. I don't know. It's I hear it with delay or like this, but it's okay. It's okay now. Okay. Well, let's listen. So for you remember that we talked about some adjectives the last session, and we learned the meaning of them. And now we're going to listen to four people talking about decision making. Which personality type best applies to each speaker? Extrovert or introvert? Sensor, intuitive, thinker, feeler, judger, perceiver. Okay, let's see. Okay.
Yeah, but oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we learned the meaning of these adjectives together. Yeah,
Yes,
here, as you remember. Yeah, of course. And now,
okay.
well, just one moment. 6.1. Okay.
Unit 6, 6.1. 1.
The most important factor in making and implementing decisions is listening. I like to ask everybody I know to give me an opinion. I get different perspectives, and I listen to them. I also listen to my own intuition. I really do believe that using your intuition is the best way of processing and weighing up information. If I have to make a big decision, I'm never impulsive. I think about it, and I listen to what other people think. But ultimately, I listen to my intuition. I delay my decision until I wake up one morning and know what I'm going to do.
2.
Okay, so first, let's talk about the first one.
Yeah.
So,
Can you replay again one more time because I need
sure,
some information.
of course. Yeah, of course. Just let's see, extrovert or introvert. So let's see again.
Yeah.
Unit 6, 6.1. 1.
The most important factor in making and implementing decisions is listening. I like to ask everybody I know to give me an opinion. I get different perspectives, and I listen to them. I also listen to my own intuition. I really do believe that using your intuition is the best way of processing and weighing up information. If I have to make a big decision, I'm never impulsive. I think about it, and I listen to what other people think. But ultimately, I listen to my intuition. I delay my decision until I wake up one morning and know what I'm going to do.
2,
I think this is about
Yeah,
speaking, the last
I-
one, intuitive. Yeah, I think, yeah.
I think it's introvert.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, yes. Definitely, yes.
I used to think that decision making was something you could do logically, but for me, this didn't always work, and I made some bad decisions. So I thought I'd try a new approach, one that takes feelings more into account. So now, particularly for the big decisions in life, what job to take, where to live, I let my inner wisdom emerge and trust my instincts. We don't always make strictly logical deductions. Instead, we rely on patterns and on feelings associated with those patterns. So for those big decisions, you need to let patterns develop in your mind. Once you realize that your intuition is reliable, making a decision is quite easy.
Second one,
Intuitive.
of course, very good.
3. If you have to make a decision, don't listen to your intuition. Intuition is for people who don't want to think. Okay, it's fine for the small decisions in life, like what kind of ice cream to buy, but for the big decisions, you need a more systematic way of thinking. Let's say you have to decide between two things. Two applicants for a key position, two properties you're thinking about buying. You check the facts, check the figures, and your analysis says to pick A over B. But your intuition says to choose B. What do? Most people stick with their intuition, which is wrong. You need to delay your decision until you can work out why your intuition is telling you something different. That's the whole point of analysis, to make you consider all the options, so you don't make the wrong decision.
Well, thinker or feeler?
Thinker.
Definitely, yes. Of course. Yes.
4.
To make good decisions, you need to have confidence in your own judgment. We all make bad decisions, but the important thing is not to worry about them. As a judge, I often have to decide between the evidence of two people standing in front of me. I don't know which one is being honest, but I know one of them is lying. That's when making decisions becomes very difficult. Even so, I never base my courtroom decisions on my feelings or my instinct. I do it by the evidence and by what the law tells me.
Well, this one?
Precise.
No, judger. So, okay,
Yeah.
just be confident about your judgment. So, yeah, be confident about your judgment. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, so this one, yeah, of course. Well, and since we know when we say perceiver, so the synonym, as you remember, like they're more flexible, spontaneous, or they're like, observers. Okay, so that is, they understand, and then, but judger knows, so just, be confident about what you actually decide, or for example, about your judgment. So you are judger. Okay, well, and now let's see, we have two in the table. We have 4 columns, so 1, 2, 3, and some verbs, and of course some phrases. Now we're gonna match. Okay, match the verbs today here. So we're gonna make acceptable combination, like collocation. So let's see. The first one, okay, is weigh up, evaluate, weigh up what? Weigh up means evaluate. So we normally, yeah, of course, yeah, like, considering, evaluation, okay. Analyze, for example, all of them are synonyms. So which one is more acceptable, logical?
Yeah, I think it should be logical, but I didn't uh, own judgment, right?
No.
My own
We don't, you don't evaluate. Let me say something. We don't evaluate, we don't consider our own judgment, but we should consider, we should evaluate, we should analyze all the options, analyze every option. Or for
yeah,
example, we can analyze two things, so both of them. These two phrases make sense. So two things or all the options, both of them. So they're good.
yeah.
It means we evaluate, we analyze every
Yeah,
option. Okay. The next
that
one,
mean
yeah,
yeah, that mean evaluate mean the people try to analyze
yeah, of course.
our
For example, yeah,
yeah, in a situation, right, and find out
definitely
the
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. It's like, for example, I want to evaluate your speaking skills. I
yeah,
want to ask this, I will evaluate. What is this? For example, I ask you some questions. You answer these questions, okay? And I'm like, okay, your evaluation, it means I analyze how you spoke, and now I know your level. Okay, so this is a meaning of evaluate.
yeah.
Okay, the next one is delay.
Mm.
Delay.
Mm. So can you explain me about my instincts?
Okay, how you feel,
Uh, instinct,
how you
yeah,
feel inside. So in instinct, okay, it's the opposite of logic. What is that? It's based on your
uh,
feeling, what you have
yeah,
inside, okay, how you feel, okay? For
yeah,
example, you guess, okay, it's like in every situation, you have some, for example, like, I don't know, we can say, intuition, okay, is better. It's like, how you feel about something,
yeah,
negative or positive, and this is a natural ability. Okay, this is natural ability. This is, for example, you get feeling. For example, you say
yeah,
that, I don't know, I'm not sure about this project. Everything is, seems okay, but I don't know. I'm feeling like a little negative. This is your instinct. So get feeling a good synonym.
yeah.
Yeah.
Two things.
Okay, two things. No, we don't know. Two things, and all the options can be used for way up. I like this combination, this two combination. It was good, but we normally, of course. So you can use different phrases. There is not actually no rule that you definitely should only use this phrase. No. So different. Now we have some phrases here. For example, you need to delay your judgment. What is
Mm-hmm.
that? Okay, first analyze, first think about it, first listen, first observe, and then, so delay judgment is better, is good. Of course, you can delay everything. You can delay your meeting. You can, for example, delay, I don't know, your not feeling. I don't like this one. So delay your own judgment is good. I like this one.
So that mean my own judgment mean I can make decision by myself.
Of
So
course, its
that
own, yeah.
mean it's make delay something, right?
Yeah, it's like phrase when the phrase, a good phrase, the best synonym, like delay making a decision. It means
Yeah.
delay your judgment. What is that? Of course, first I'm forming an opinion. Okay,
Mm.
so I'm thinking about something. Of course, I have some judgment. Don't delay making a decision. Delay your judgment.
Yeah.
This is a synonym. And the next one, rely on. No, yes. We have rely on.
My instinct.
Very good, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can also rely on information. So both of them,
Yeah.
I think, make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I think information fit with the get information.
Of course. So as I told you, we have different. Why not? Of course, we can use get and information together. In addition, we can use rely on and information together. So both of them. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And trust.
Trust my decision.
Trust. You can trust your decision, but it's better to trust your feelings. It's better to trust your instincts. So instinct, feeling, and you can trust information. So all of them. Yeah. Or maybe trust your judgment. Why not? Yeah. All of them make sense, of course. And consider
different perspective.
Consider, like, evaluate different perspective. Yes, but you can also say consider information again, consider your feeling again, consider your instinct, like there's so different phrases that you could,
but I can use consider with different perspective, right?
Of course, you consider different perspective. It means you analyze, you listen. Of course, why not? You can. And the next one.
I'm confident in my decision or in my instinct or my information.
Okay, so have confidence, in my instinct, of course, and feeling. We normally have confidence in our feelings, in our instinct. It means we're sure about, how we feel, how we, have in our mind, what we have in our mind. Yeah, of course. So get
information.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And decide between.
Two things.
Yeah, of course. You decide between normally two things. Yeah, of course. Very good. Well, and now let's see. Okay. Oh, we have some positions. And now we're going to talk about the different types of personality would be most suitable for this position, like sales manager, website designer, and human resources manager, office administrator, account controller, and training consultant. So let's see, what do you think? For example, the most important characteristic for a sales manager, what is this? What do you think? You can get help from these adjectives here. Determined, flexible, thoughtful, creative, introvert, extrovert.
I think with sales manager, it should be. I think it's not only one personality, but I think we talk about the top priority, right? Of personality.
Of course.
So I think sales manager should be determined.
Determined, of course. Determined, of course.
Yeah, because I think it's still very hard when they have to explain about the product and let the people let customer or partner
of course.
agree with.
Of course.
So they may try again and again a lot of time to to sell the product. And
of course.
website designer, I think, yeah, it may have creative.
Definitely creative, of course. The most
Yeah.
important one. Yeah, creative. And we have human resource. This is really important. Extrovert.
Yeah.
Really important. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but I think introvert might be maybe fit with officer administrator. So I think human
Why you,
resource they
oh,
should be yeah, they should be rational, something like that.
yeah, let me say, okay. I think it's important. Of course, you can be, I don't know, a really successful HR, but introvert, so of course. But you know that when it comes to human resource manager, so of course the most important maybe
Yes.
we can say characteristic is communication skills.
Yes.
Extroverts, yeah, people have really good communication skills, and that's really important.
Yeah.
And you know that we have networking here. We have actually building, networks, so that is really important. And the next one, okay, when it comes to managers, so different characteristics. So like, for example, I don't know, you need to communicate with people, you need to build network and relationships. So that's really, it's better, of course, it's better. So when you are introvert and it comes to communicating with people,
Yeah.
maybe it's a little difficult, yeah, maybe, but it is difficult for you, not
Yeah.
for people around you, of course.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think human resources manager, they will not an introvert person. I
of
think
course.
it's
Of course, they're
always right.
not. Normally.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
normally.
yeah.
As I told you, it's not the rule that, definitely, just, it's better, I think. Yeah.
Mm,
Because, so you know that, for example, what is your responsibility? Okay. For example, staffing. So you
yeah.
are in charge of, for example, recruiting new
Mm,
member staff. Okay. Now, this is the first and employee relations, for example, they are your job as HR. And now, if you
mm,
are introvert, I don't know, it's make people feel a little stressed when
mm,
talking to you. Like, they feel like that maybe, for example, this is an interview. If you
mm,
are introvert and you are HR manager, I'm like, I know he doesn't like me. He doesn't
mm,
want, maybe you really want, for example, me for this position. But I'm like,
mm,
no, because you can stay. I mean, from this actually side, or if you consider this part, respect, we say being extrovert is better. But of course,
mm,
no. No, it's not a rule. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the next one, office administrator. What do you
Methods,
think about
method,
this?
it's methodical.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Do you do you
because
think
yeah,
so?
they need to, of course. Yeah, of course. Methodical, being organized. Yeah, of course, that is really important.
Mm,
Thinker, for example, and accounts controller.
accounts,
Yeah,
uh, detach.
yeah. Detached, you think?
Yeah, detach.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
detached.
I
Okay.
will focus on the number
It's
and yeah,
important, of course. So it's like, this is ability to separate. Yeah. Yeah, of
yeah.
course. Yeah, I do agree with you. Yeah.
training consultant.
Yeah.
Flexible, right?
Of course, definitely yes. Yeah, I do agree. It's like, as you said, there are different characteristics that we can consider. It's not only the one, but the first thing,
Yeah.
that we actually focus on. Yeah, I do agree. Yes,
Yeah.
of course. And yeah, I think being flexible is really important. Yes. And now let's see. How about being introvert and extrovert?
Sorry.
How about being extrovert or introvert? You know that strong communication skills are needed for example, people who want to be consultant or training consultant. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think I think when if the people want to become a manager, they should have extrovert,
Of
but
course, they should
yeah,
be.
but they may have the listening they may have listening skills. That means they don't
Yeah,
they they build an atmosphere and they build the
of
environment
course,
for people. They
of
can
course.
and they
Yeah, yeah,
active listening
of
to
course.
listen from their employees.
You mean empathy. Of course, I do agree with you. So they need to understand the
Yeah,
needs, challenges of employees, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, of course, I do agree with you. So empathy is really important. As you said,
yes,
flexibility is really important. Being extrovert is really important. So different characteristics that we can consider for this position. But yes, patience. Oh, they should be really patient. Patience is really important. Patience is one other important factor that we need to consider.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
well, yeah.
I don't know why, but I think I had changed a lot from when I was young and become until now. So I
How?
used to very extrovert, but right now it led introvert.
Yeah.
I think I like to I like listening from my colleagues.
That is,
Then
yeah, actually, it's really good. No, actually, now you are not into it. Now we can say that you try to observe, listen, and of course, consider different maybe aspects of, for example, every conversation. That is perfect because I think this is a sign of maturity. That is
yeah,
really good, actually. It's not. So when you're young, we just state our opinion. I used to be like, okay, just talk, just, communicate with people. And I don't know, try to be a leader because it was not really important to how to
mm,
state your opinion if you get negative or positive. So it was, and we didn't think about the consequences and the result as much as now.
yeah,
Now we are adults, and this
yeah,
is really good. I think perfect sign of maturity. Like,
yeah,
now you listen more because you
yeah,
know that, okay, it's better to listen and then you can make decision. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. So you are not into it, I think. You try to think deeply about different aspects of everything, and that is really important. And
yeah.
everyone, yeah,
I hope
I used to, yeah. Oh, it's you're
and,
freezing.
yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah. What's next? We move on to the new topic, or what we should
Okay,
do
so we
right
have
now?
another listening. Okay,
Yeah,
6.2.
yeah,
Yeah, as I told you, yeah, today is your favorite section. So let's see.
yeah,
Okay, and now, uh, 6.2. Let's
yeah,
read the context, listen to the meeting, and take the point
yeah.
discussed. Okay.
So for prepare for the listening, I think we take the time to read the contract.
Of course
to-
you should. Of course you will read.
Yeah. And defeat. What does it mean?
Which one?
In the contract,
Freeze.
you can see.
Yeah, of course. Read the context. Okay, listen to the freeze.
Yeah.
Okay, get back all reduce offer resources. Change. Okay, client account cut back and business tip. Defeat. You mean defeat?
Can you can see in the context.
Let me see. I can.
In the
So let me
context.
see.
It is the first paragraph. Yeah.
Of
Can
course,
you
I'm
slide-
here. Yeah. Why is something difficult to reach decision? Yeah. To
Slide-
make more immediate. Yeah. I'm sorry. I can't.
No,
Since actually there is lag,
until the
I can't hear you. Okay, can you hear me? It's like, you're freezing now. I can't hear you clearly, so I can't get what you exactly mean. Can you hear me? You're freezing.
Yeah. No, I can try.
You're freezing.
I can find it. Yeah.
Thank you, because it's so.
Yeah. We can move on.
Okay, so, okay, now could you please ask me a question again? Again, what you said. What is the meaning of what?
It's okay right now. Yeah.
Is it okay
Because-
now?
Yeah. I have find it on the dictionary and it's
Where is
okay.
what? I want to know the word. What word because I didn't hear what word. I can't see the word. What word?
Yeah. Can you slide up until the first paragraph? Slide up.
Here you mean?
Slide up. Yeah, you
Scroll
can see
off.
the contact. It's a contact, right? A contact.
Context here, of course. I can see context. Yeah. Here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
of course.
Scandinavian company KIM had a budget defect.
Yeah, of course, because this is, you said defeat. Defeat is really different. And I was like, what is it? And what is the relation with this word defeat here? Yeah, of course. I lack. Yeah, lack of something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now let's see. Okay, let's read it. Well.
Yeah. Oh, buckets, the deficits. That mean similar with over budget, right?
Okay, let me say. Okay, deficit is lack of something. Okay, now, here, for example, we have when something is not sufficient or loss of something. Here, okay, when it comes to financial financial context, okay, it means expenses, for example, expenses exceed budget revenue. So it means you face something like exceeding the limits more than budget. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, and then we can move on to 6.2.
Of course, deficit. Okay, let's see. 6.2.
6.2.
Today, I'd like to establish where we think we can cut costs. We can discuss actual figures when we've considered what's possible. Jens, could you start us off, please?
Yes, well, if we look at the facts, we'll see that our costs for personnel are very high.
Yes, but we've discussed layoffs before.
Hang on, let's hear what Jens has to say about personnel before we reject the topic.
You're right, Anna, but I'm not talking about reducing the number of employees. Look at the overtime figures. They're here in black and white, and they're costing us a lot of money. The fact is, we need to keep these to a minimum to save money.
Matt, what's your position on this?
What Jens says is right. The thing is, We need to look at why we have so much overtime and if it's realistic to try to reduce it.
If we do reduce it, it'll mean dramatic savings. We could set up a program.
That all sounds pretty positive. Let's look into it at a country level and discuss it again at our next meeting. Can we move on to office resources? Anna, this was your point. Could you give us some detail, please?
Yes, what I mean is paper, office supplies, that sort of thing. I think if we look closely at what we actually use, we'll find there's a lot of waste. A classic example is printing emails out on expensive copy paper.
So what you're getting at is monitoring the office supplies and making sure we're not using too many or wasting too much.
Exactly.
I'm not convinced. As far as I'm concerned, we'd make hardly any savings compared to the personnel costs.
The drawback is it's quite labor-intensive to keep a check on this. But it could be a project for one of our work experience students.
Yes, we're actually in a position.
I don't want to spend too long on this point. We should set up the project Matt mentioned with the student and see how it goes. There are plenty of other areas we could consider. Let's turn to the next item, customer expenditure.
If you ask me, we should look carefully at client travel expenses and entertainment costs.
Absolutely. We spend far too much money on clients. The expense accounts aren't taken seriously enough. That's my view.
Anna, you've been very quiet.
Yes, I was just doing some calculations. Matt is right, but I think it would be crazy to cut expense accounts. In my opinion, we should introduce tighter guidelines.
Good. We seem to be getting somewhere. Let's draw up some action points on what we've discussed so far.
Well, let's see what you heard, which phrases what you heard. So
Yeah.
tell me. Okay. Which points were discussed?
I think you cut back over time
Yeah.
and reduce office resources
Okay, reduce. Yeah, of course I heard.
and reduce client expense account.
Yeah, of course, definitely agree. Yeah, of course I heard. Yeah, that's right. And well, just so you know that cut back on, this is phrasal verb like, reduce. The meaning, the synonym is reduce. So cut back on something, mean reduce something. Okay.
Yeah.
And just, and I type the synonym or the meaning of deficit here. And you know that deficit budget, this is a collocation. So always have in your mind that, they normally come together. Okay. Now let's listen again and complete the phrases. Okay. Let's see.
One by one, right?
Of course, yes.
6.2.
Today, I'd like to establish where we think we can cut costs. We can discuss actual figures when we've considered what's possible. Jens, could you start us off, please?
Yes, well, if we look at the facts, we'll see that our costs for personnel are very high.
Yeah. Okay, the first one, yes. Well,
It is a lot of cut out. Yeah. It's so.
if we,
Yeah.
of course, fast look at the facts. Now I play it again. If we look at the facts, okay, we'll see that. Okay, this is the rest of it. Our cost. Okay, let me put it here. Okay, this is the first one. We'll see that our costs for personnel are very high. Now listen again. Listen.
And cut costs. We can discuss actual figures when we've considered what's possible. Jens, could you start us off, please?
Yes, well, if we look at the facts, we'll see that our costs for personnel are very high.
Yes, but we discussed layoffs before.
Hang on, let's hear what Jens has to say about personnel before we reject the topic.
You're right, Anna, but I'm not talking about reducing the number of employees. Look at the overtime figures.
Okay, look at this one, overtime figures. Just look at the figures.
They're here in black and white, and they're
They're here in black and white. Okay.
Oh, sorry, it is in the three, yeah.
Yeah, here. Let me put this here. They're here.
Oh, yeah.
Here. They're here, black and white. So here.
Yeah.
Listen again here. Listen.
Yeah.
About personnel before we reject the topic.
You're right, Anna. But I'm not talking about reducing the number of employees. Look at the overtime figures. They're here in black and white, and they're costing us a lot of money. The fact is, we need to keep these to a minimum to save money.
What's your position on this?
That we need to look at. So, okay.
What Jens says is right. The thing is, we need to look at why we have so much overtime.
We need to look at why we have so much overtime. What is? The thing is, listen.
Yeah.
A lot of money. The fact is, we need to keep these to a minimum to save money.
What's your position on this?
What Jens says is right. The thing is, we need to look at why we have so much overtime and if it's realistic to try to reduce it.
If we do reduce it, it'll mean dramatic savings. We could set up a program.
That all sounds pretty positive. Let's look into it at a country level and discuss it again at our next meeting. Can we move on to office resources? Anna, this was your point. Could you give us some detail, please?
Yes, what I mean is paper, office supplies, that sort of thing. I think if we look closely at what we actually use, we'll find there's a lot of waste. A classic example is printing emails out on expensive copy paper.
The classic.
Yeah, classic example.
Yeah, a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So what you're getting at is monitoring the office supplies and making sure.
So
What thing is monitoring?
what you're getting at this, okay? So what you're getting at it, listen.
Yes, what I mean is paper, office supplies, that sort of thing. I think if we look closely at what we actually use, we'll find there's a lot of waste. A classic example is printing emails out on expensive copy paper.
So what you're getting at is monitoring the office supplies and making sure we're not using too many or wasting.
So what you're getting at, this is informal, casual way to ask, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say is, it means your main point. So this means what are you getting at means what you're trying to say. This is informal, okay? In conversation with your leads, okay? And we have only 1 minute, so do you think we can finish it?
Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
think we finish it and continue in the next time.
Okay, so we skip it for the next time or finish?
We finish right now and yeah.
The next time, okay, so we will listen to the rest of it the next time, right?
Yes.
Okay, of course. So very good, of course. Okay. Well, so we skip this part for the next session. Again, we will listen and fill in the blanks for the rest of questions. Okay, so thank you. It's time to go now. Have a great week.
Yeah, thank you and see you on next time.
You're welcome. Of course, see you. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.